The Australian Ultimate League is only possible thanks to the generous support of our major partners. Bendigo Private Banking Services. Visit their website bendigoprivate.com.au to help you manage all your personal or business banking needs. Discraft. For leaders in flying discs for over 25 years. Their Ultrastar is the preferred disc of all World Championship events and the Australian Ultimate League. And Zone Ultimate Custom Sports Apparel. Check out their new range of custom warm-up jackets and pants at zoneultimate.com.
Hello and welcome to the inaugural match of the Australian Ultimate League. I'm Claire Hussey and I'm here with Ewan Weimer to bring you a scalding hot matchup from Melbourne's Docklands between Melbourne Flames and the Sydney Suns. Ewan, what exactly is the AUL?
Thank you, Huss. The AUL is Australia's first professional ultimate frisbee league. It's 6-on-6 with 3 men and 3 women per team on the field. I'm expecting a great clash here.
Here are the lineups. What makes these two teams the favourites?
Well, looking at the Melbourne Flames lineup, they have 13 national representatives, including 7 who have played on the Australian World Games team. They're all world-class athletes with a wealth of experience and skill, and their roster is deep. The connection should be strong, with 5 out of the 6 women being club teammates on Ellipsis, and most of the men being club teammates at Heads of State. Both teams recently came back from Cincinnati World Club Championships. Tell us about who they're playing against, Huss.
The Sydney Suns are also packed with Australian representatives, again with 13 of them owning at least one Australian uniform, and also 7 World Games players on the team. We'll see many players who know each other's game well after playing together with the club team Colony, winning silver at the World Ultimate Club Championships. The Suns also have a core group of players from the mixed team Frisky. You'll see Carmen, Lee, Parsons and Chung ripping it up and causing a headache for their opponents.
Our sideline interviewer Monica caught up with the coaches before the game. This is what they had to say.
So what will be the main challenges you guys will face against Sydney?
I think depth-wise, Sydney's extremely strong. So across the board, very experienced players, very good players. Yep, that will be a massive strength of theirs. Really experienced players as well.
They do have a lot of experienced players. So how are you is there ones that you're going to specifically try to shut down with key matchups?
Probably. I mean, I think we'll go height-wise. Sydney also have a lot of speed in their women in particular, really elite speed. So we'll look to match those ones up, I'd say.
So what are the main strengths of Melbourne's team?
I think probably their club strengths are quite good. So, they've essentially got mainly Hoss boys playing with Tom Regaki as a pretty handy addition. And then they've essentially got Ellipsis girls playing with Rosa Wang as a handy addition for them. So I think they'll have a lot of those inbuilt connections already, and that's something we'll definitely have to try and disrupt.
So how are you gonna try and disrupt that and get in the way of those connections?
We like to think that we're kind of sneaky and we've got some plans in place. So luckily a lot of our players have played against a lot of these players a lot. So we've got some key matchups that we need to nail and be prepared to go to a plan B and plan C if that's not working.
So with those key matchups, can you give us a hint of any of the ones you might be matching up?
Look, I think there's some real height on the Melbourne team, and I think it's going to be key for us to match up the height, both for the boys and the girls. So we'll be really looking to do that and really trying to shut down their options around the disc so they can't get going is where we're going to be matching up pretty tight.
And they're a pretty quick team. Is there a way you're going to try and shut that down as well?
Luckily we've got a lot of speed, so for us that's a natural advantage as well. So I think that'll probably cancel each other out. I don't think it's going to be so much about the athleticism in this game. I think it's going to be about the brains.
Great. And what's your key focus for your team? What are you going to tell them before the game?
I think there's already that inbuilt rivalry. I don't think we're going to have to G everybody up too much. The socials have been a buzz with this being the matchup that everyone wants to see. So I think there'll be plenty of energy there already. It's just about going out there and having fun and enjoying what should be a really elite game of Ultimate.
And do you think you'll be able to cope with the team will be able to cope with all the crowds and the energy? Do you reckon that will lift them up, or will that be a problem?
We got a lot of show ponies, so I feel like that's going to be absolutely something that they'll get energy from, and will help them play fantastically well.
Great, good luck. Thanks.
good to hear from the coaches. Anna Ragaki, a very experienced coach. She's coached the Australian World Games team in the past to great success, and Kylie O'Brien coached the Australian women's team in 2016, so I'm sure they've been having a bit of banter themselves, and no doubt they've not been sharing many secrets.
Kylie O'Brien now identifying sneakiness as a quality she wants to bring out in the Suns. It's not a very common defensive quality that I hear, but that's what gets you blocks.
It's true. I think Kylie O'Brien herself has displayed a lot of sneakiness on the field offensively, but she must have a plan for moving it into the defensive world. So we'll see how that goes.
Tom Tullett, one of the great defenders at getting poach blocks. I wonder if that's how we'll be referring to him from now on, Sneaky Tom.
Sneaky Tom Tullett. We've got Mike Neild here. Again, I'm going to say the word experienced because it's exactly what he is. He's played on the Australian men's team a bunch of times, and the Australian World Games team too. We're underway, so Melbourne Flames receiving the first pull. They'll be wanting to stick this one in without much fuss. Let's see how they go. Kat Phillips on the disc, moving her defender around. Prentice keeping that disc, moving across the middle. Quick whip. We've got Seb Barr sticking it deep for a cruising Tom Ragaki, catching the goal without too much ado.
Great point there from the Melbourne Flames. Very easily moving the disc from the start, hitting both sidelines and then finding the open play along. Textbook.
Absolutely. He's done that a few times in his 24-year playing career, and I don't think he's about to stop now. Let's see how Melbourne Flames can stick it to the Sydney Suns on defence now, and see if the Suns have got an answer to that smooth offensive point. Isherwood here with the pull.
Definitely you can imagine the Flames will want to generate more pressure on that first point than the Suns did. There's nothing like having a quick offensive point to give your defence a bit of go get 'em and start putting the pressure on.
Parsons getting the disc back off the sideline to Tullett. Must be everyone finding their feet. A couple of picks usually common in the start of the game. Wentworth picks out Andrews. Got a hassly mark from Isherwood. He really slowed the Suns down. Tullett whips out and Blady backhand huck, pinpoint to Andrews, who's comfortably catching that goal.
I think both teams won't be too disappointed with that point. You know, the Tullett to Andrews connection is always good odds, but Melbourne definitely generating a bit more pressure around the disc than the Sydney team.
Yeah, they definitely took a little bit longer on that point. Andrews going back to back. We'll see a lot of players on the field for multiple points with short rosters. Barr and Egan Griffiths working it, finding Phillips, Prentice. Nice inside break, finding Barr on the far sideline. Being pretty patient, waiting for those good options to come from downfield, not worrying too much about forcing it forward.
Great decision making there from both Barr and Prentice. You could see them both winding up for that big backhand, but just patiently working it down the field.
And Phillips finding a reach around flick, a little bit curly, but finds the stature of Regaki. Evans there having a bit of a go, trying to get round Regaki to get the block, but he didn't really have much space to play with there.
So O'Brien identified, I think, the coach of the Suns, that it's going to be decision making that decides this game, and very clear in that point there that the Melbourne offense wants to work it in. They don't, even though both scores were from fairly long throws, they're not just going to put up any old thing to the tall guys, Regaki and Isherwood. They're going to focus on working it in. Good to see.
Yeah, that's what you'd be hoping for with this level of quality in both the teams. Neild rips a backhand up the sideline to a speedy Blakely, who cuts it back inside and finds Carmen confidently slotting it through to her.
Great throw from Neild. They jammed in on the sideline there for a moment, but a small gainer puts him into power position, and then Tex Blakely is one of the fastest players in Australian Ultimate, so it's great to have him chasing down your hucks.
Yeah, and Carmen pretty comfortable in the end zone. She finds herself in that spot a lot. She'll be ranking high on the stats by the end of the league, no doubt. 2 apiece. Melbourne Flames collecting the disc again. Speedy Ashcroft pulling his flick out, and well pulled down by Regaki, who locked a very well weighted disc up for Phillips to retrieve in her own time. That was a really beautifully placed and executed throw. I think Evans was coming down there trying to pressure the throw, but pressure the catch, but didn't have enough time. He was busy marking his own player.
I think that was the case of the commentator's curse there. As soon as I say they're not just going to put it up to Regaki, what do? Ashcroft turns around and fires a big forehand.
That's true. It wasn't the biggest percentage throw. You wouldn't really be sticking that up to any of your medium-sized players, for example. Wise with another outside in pull.
Bit of contact there, just resetting the count.
Dawson and a big jack. Not really sure who that was to. Maybe he thought someone had gone earlier, but that's the first unforced error we've seen.
And you could hear the sideline there yelling at Dignam, get it, get it, get it. Rosie Dawson, I think, was closing quickly there. There was no one in range for a long time, but the disc just hung in the air. You really want to be making the Ds and collecting those fantasy points, I think.
That's right, don't let the fans down.
Great layup bid there from Dignam.
Yeah, that was lovely. Wise with a fake that he'd lost control of. Pretty interesting thing. Anyone would think that was a case of the nerves, but I can't imagine that he'd be feeling nervous.
It might just be a little bit dewy out there, so we'll see if that kind of handling error comes more into play throughout the rest of the game.
Lee looking for her best option on Haberfield. Dawson. Suns pretty close on with the marks on the outside of the end zone. Want to stay calm, and they've found a front corner, taking advantage of that slip up from the Melbourne Flames.
Great little give and go there from Dawson. Finding the open player, hitting the line straight away. That's going to score you goals.
Three-piece, we've got Andrews ready with the pull. The Sydney Suns are going to want to get a quick block and get this in, take advantage of a break. Prentice, finding Regaki, Ashcroft.
That was the first time they've generated a bit of pressure there on the sideline, but Prentice able to get the dump pass and reset the count.
Yeah, and they're straight back into using her nice inside breaks to use the middle of the field. And Regaki casually tossing up a long put to Barr, who happily collects that one up and pulls out a celebration, warming his hand on Flames. They're coming straight over the disc, which is hot from that point.
That's the kind of play that makes Barr so dangerous, so good with the disc, but you can't mark him too tightly around there or he will just blast to the end zone and you're toast.
Yeah, that's the thing with the whole field here. You know, everyone's got their strengths, but anyone's good enough to be busting deep at any point or throwing safe, penetrative options when needed. You don't want to let anyone out of your sight in these sorts of games.
So 7 holds to start off with. This is the quality that we're kind of looking for in this league. What's going to get the first block, do you think?
Well, it's going to have to be a change up on D, because none of these defensive moves have resulted in a turn. We've only seen one turn, and that was two turns, and they've both been pure errors, and that's 3. Just miscommunications or technical errors. Melbourne trying to answer this, and Egan Griffiths confidently slices one across to Ashcroft for another goal, and Melbourne go 5-3.
Yeah, that's the first break. Interesting there. The Sydney Suns looked like they were out. Just the throw going slightly behind the receiver there, and Isherwood a big huck making them pay.
Yeah, and in the Australian Ultimate League, there are no timeouts during play, which helps with nice fluid flow to the games, which is what every fan really wants to see. So we've just got a timeout between points here. Obviously, Kylie's going to be wanting to get this game back under control, having gone a breakdown. She's going to be getting a bit of the fire up the Sydney Suns, get them out there back on track.
Interesting timeout call. Do you think the Suns are really doing anything wrong? The 2 turns there, just execution errors rather than anything that looked too structural. What do you think should be saying there? Just bring your head-ins, let's execute and be elite?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it never feels good to make unforced errors, and rather than let the team dwell on it, on the sideline or thinking about it while they're playing, I'm sure she's just reminding them what sort of players they are and can be, and getting them back on track. Again, Wentworth collects the pull, gets it to Chula, who rips another backhand, slightly curly. This time, Andrews can't come down with it. He's got a Regaki crawling over him a little bit, but getting what seems to be an uncontested block.
Great play there from the Flames. They came down in agenda mismatch D. That was Dignam on the mark there, doing plenty to make that huck difficult for Tulit. and then Regaki able to peel off and get the block on Andrews.
Yeah, they'll be happy with that. And getting that disc moving fast again. Not waiting 2 seconds before the next hut comes up, but misfired and intercepted by the Suns, who are back on offense. Tulip.
Yeah, Isherwood loves that backhand and firing, but just not quite the distance on that one.
Andrews collecting a long shot and being patient, laying it off, not rushing to the end zone, letting the team reset in front of him. And it's paid off. Tulip makes a solid cut to the front of the end zone, and the Suns are looking a little bit more calm than the Flames right now, and have executed a beautiful trademark goal.
It's all about the race to that front cone. If you can win it, you will score goals every time. Tulip getting it done there.
That's right, textbook. Neil setting the Sydney Suns off on defense. Ashcroft. Prentice. We're not finding the options coming from upfield, so still being patient, working at the back. And Barr grips a flick. Cat waiting underneath. Cat Phillips pulls it down, reads it really well. Defender was there, but couldn't get himself up for the block.
Much more difficult offensive point there for the Flames. First couple of points had no problems moving it around off the ball, generating a couple of 10-metre gainers. But that one seeming to get a little stuck around their own end zone, and Cat Phillips though, she'll bring down a lot of hucks.
Yeah, she's got the height, she's got the read, and she did the job there. Wentworth collecting the ball. Lee. Andrews and Wentworth working at the back. They're feeling happy to do this. They're not looking upfield for very long, but now they've found that one opportunity to Tulip.
Looks like it's a bit of a poachy D there in that back half of the field. You can see there seems to be a spare offensive player often on the wing. The Melbourne Flames looking to try and put someone in the lane and generate a block.
Yeah, we've got a few gender mismatches going on now as they take the players match to match, and Suns have popped another one to Tulip. Casual little backhand on a flick mark.
Tulip there absolutely sells Egan Griffiths on the around throw and then hits the front cone for the easy goal.
Yep, that's right. We often don't encourage, players are not encouraged to cut sideways, but in that instance, he totally pushes his defender into the break side so that he could get an easy open throw, cutting across the front of the end zone. Ashcroft just overthrowing on that swing. That's Melbourne's second unforced turn. Blakely kneeled. Not finding anyone open in the end zone, moving it back. Ooh, big break and almost blocked by Ashcroft diving through on that break. Slips through and got a goal for the Suns.
Massive break from Neil there, all the way across the field, opening things up, and once that throw goes off, it's an easy score.
Showing with the goal.
Bit disappointing there for the Flames, giving that break back so easily. Maybe just a miscommunication between the handlers, but 6-all.
Yeah, they'll still all be working things out. These teams were formed. They were made up of lots of outstanding players, but as a whole team, they've not played together before. So they're still ironing out some creases that would no doubt be there.
And another one that needs a little bit of ironing out there. Cat Phillips, a great break throw, but Seb Barr just not able to chase it down.
Oh, massive block from Tulip. Apologies, that was not a block, that was an offensive turn.
Yeah, great bid, but just not able to hang on to it, unfortunately.
Phillips finds what she thinks was space in front of Prentice, but it's pulled down by Andrews. MD.
Maybe the Flames a little bit rattled here. They're definitely looking a different kind of composure to the first couple of points, which was all very good decision making and short, quick throws.
Yeah, it's definitely not as smooth as the start of the game.
Another turn, Ashcroft that time getting the block. Great bid.
Prentice being patient, getting it back every other throw. And again up the line. She's running a dump. She's found one, she's found two. There for her. Wise to Prentice. Prentice finds
Eva Weatherall, that is,
Weatherall.
with an easy goal. Much better movement there around the end zone in the end, just moving the disc around, moving their mark around until they can find the break. Weatherall's there for the score.
And with that, Melbourne take half, 7-6 on serve. They'll be going in for some drinks and to see how they can move forward in the next half. Well, that was an enjoyable first half, particularly the first half of the first half. We saw a lot of great connections, a lot of reasonably quick goals and not many turnovers, but going towards the second half of the first half, we saw it deteriorating a little bit, Ewan.
Yeah, really polished play for the first, 7 or 8 points, and then maybe a bit of tiredness creeping in. We could really see the throwaways and drops add up, but still on serve. Very, very even game.
Yeah, there's everything to play for going forward into the next half. I guess both teams are going to be looking to try and eliminate those unforced errors, and that should put them in good stead to win the game. But of course, there's always the other team, and we'll see if the coaches can come up with any strategies to help propel one of the teams forward more. Maybe defensively.
Yeah, looking at those stats, you would say these are two teams that are very closely athletically matched. And I think that's a thing that we knew coming in. These guys are the best of the best. And really, it's going to be down to decision making and who can execute most cleanly in this second half.
Yeah, we've seen some high quality. If you're a player looking to start the sport, you'll see that there's some incredible execution decisions with throws and breaks and some really wonderfully timed cuts into the space. But of course, everyone's human, and we've seen a few errors that naturally happen when you're playing in a very close game against another whole field of athletes.
So, Melbourne starting on defence in the second half. In the first half, only 2 blocks. But one of the blocks generated through that mixed gender defence. I think I'd like to see them run that a few more times in this second half.
Yeah, I think it would be good to see a bit more interesting defence going on and trying to rattle the other team with some different techniques. Evans, who was solid in the first half, big crossfield swing to Parsons, and finds Andrews. Keenly looking for an open player, goes for a curving inside-out backhand, and then an unforced drop from Evans. That's what we were talking about, needing to cut out, but
exactly what you don't want coming out of the halftime break. A unforced error in your own half, giving the opposition a pretty good look at the end zone.
Yeah, the Suns are going to want to work hard to get that back. They're not going to want to finish this point like that. Well, they've managed to get a turn of some sort. I'm not sure how forced it was.
Just a little miscommunication there, it looked like, from Evans and Isherwood. Evans hitting the brake side and then peeling his cut off, and Isherwood hoping that he would continue that. The disc just floats to the ground, no one nearby.
While setting up his big mark on Chillett, who is unperturbed by it, swings it safely. However, Suns are quite deep in their own end zone here. They're not going to want to hold it here for too long.
Melbourne will like this defence a lot. They've forced them onto the sideline, definitely generating some pressure around the handlers here.
Yeah, they're still barely out of their end zone, hunting for a way forward. Chillett finds another break to Parsons. Still on the sideline though.
Again, a high stall count break coming out.
Andrews finds an opportunity to crack a deep one, and Parsons has run it down as it faded to the break side. Staying calm on the outside of the end zone. And Evans finding his safe flick. Gets a goal with Andrews.
You can really see the quality of the Sydney throwers there in that point, being forced deep into their own end zone. A lot of pressure being generated around the handlers, calm, collected, getting the throws into space where they can easily be picked up by receivers to reset the stall count until they can find the open look.
Yeah, that earlier turn pretty uncharacteristic for Evans. Just steps right back into confident play, being safe. Sydney coming down, match defence once again. Nearly had a block there. Quite fast moving disc at the moment, and Gax peeled one off to the open side to Ashcroft, the speedster, who also places another safe one up the line. Defence trailing. Lee there just not able to get onto the defensive open side of Prentice.
Prentice and Cat Phillips are having a great game so far. Both players looking very dangerous, both for the undercuts and the deep shots, really helping generate this Melbourne offense, moving the disc around.
Yeah, I'd say that the Sydney Suns defence aren't able to quite keep pace with those two, who have a keenness to throw and go, get the disc, move it on, which makes it really difficult to get onto that open side of the player. So those Melbourne Flames doing a great job.
There's a pick up field. This play will stop while the players sort it out.
Wentworth still hoping for something to hit, and finds big bid from Ashcroft on that up the line. And Evans on the mark. The defense obviously pretty tight upfield, causing a few picks. Tulip digging out another break to Parsons. He puts a bit of a specky one up, and just sort of slightly behind Andrews, who couldn't pull that down if it was intended for him.
It seems like the Sydney Suns are relying a lot on Tulip at the moment to generate some flow and find an open player, and when that doesn't happen, things start to break down a little bit for the Suns. So the Flames D obviously doing a good job clamping down upfield.
Evans.
Just over the head of Dignam there, and then the Suns are away now.
Evans finds a big loopy one over the top. Andrews once again on the board. He's seen Andrews looking for space a few times in their playing time together, so there was no question he was going to go for that one.
Andrews very damaging in the end zone so far today. A couple of goals already.
So I'm not sure who called that timeout, but looks like Kylie and you are going to try and pull this Sydney Suns team together as the weather continues to blow chills around the teams. They need to come up with some warming tactics.
Game's kind of entering a critical phase here. Things are very tight. It's going to be the next couple of points. Who can execute, which will decide the winner.
Yeah, it's this point in a game where, you know, you've had all the fun and games of the first half where, you know, it really could go either way, and this second half being a bit more of a business time. As soon as you let one team get a couple up, it's pretty much game over, unless, of course, you have a shocker. So both teams will be looking to get their acts together and reduce turnovers to 0 from here, I hope.
So what's been working well for the Sydney Suns so far on D? What will they be looking to do here, do you think?
Well, I think that they haven't been generating that many blocks, so they're going to need to be mixing up some of their options on D, maybe having a few more switches. There's a lot of space on this field with only 6 players on each team, so I think they're going to have to start sending people into switch spaces to get any blocks. Oh, and just there, Mike made a good bid. Mike Neild made a good bid on Tom Regaki's receiving of that huck, but didn't come close enough. And Regaki comes down with another goal.
Two old foes there. I'd say those two have matched up many times over the last 15 years, but Regaki coming down with that one.
It's a bit of wind out there. Starting to pick up a touch in the second half. So those hucks are going to have to be well controlled.
We saw on the last couple of points, even those short 10-metre throws can pop up a little bit. So both teams will have to be wary of that from now on. Oh, there we go. Great bid from Neil to stay with it and bring it down after contact from the Melbourne player.
Haberfield just throwing a bit too much outside edge up there for Dawson, who scrambled to keep that one up but wasn't able to succeed. Egan Griffiths gets it going, but there's another turn for the Flames. Dawson stuck with a bit of a mess around her. Managed to pull a high store count number out to Blakely. This is up-down discussion.
Blakely telling the Melbourne players he thinks he had control before it touched the ground.
They're all happy with his opinion. Game gets back underway. Chung manages to get a short number off to Neild. Make that Blakely, who's searching desperately for a bit of a messy upfield, but pops one out into space, and Dawson can turn and pull that one in.
Again there, the Sydney Suns able to get the right throw off under a high stall count, but realistically you think as the game gets closer to its end, that pressure's going to tell, and we might see a few more turns here for the Flames.
Yeah, Melbourne really are ramping it up a little on D and making those options really difficult for Sydney.
And during that point we saw a quick discussion between the players, of course, Ultimate Frisbee being self-refereed. The players decide whether things are a foul or in or out. Some great spirit there shown from both teams to quickly work out what had happened.
Phillips just backing up a disc that went over the head of Weatherall. Regaki keeping his eyes firmly upfield. Dick finds out Cat. Phillips to Gack again. Gacky to Bar. There's a lot of movement upfield. There's not much standing still. And Regaki jumps one backwards just on the outside of the end zone, cheekily stomping that one in, and Melbourne are 10-9 up.
Yes, Gack able to use those long legs and jump back into the end zone so they could stick their nose ahead again.
So Sydney Suns looking for smooth offense point here. Hopefully they can get the disc moving a bit earlier rather than waiting for those last second options this time. Chung.
Pick called.
many options arising right now. Tom squeezes one through.
Great bid there by Dignam on Haberfield. Again, we're seeing that mixed gender D generating pressure.
Yeah, and Dawson really having to pivot wide to get around that the Mel mark of Wise. It's a lot of limb to have to throw around, but didn't seem to deter Dawson as she sprung a nice one. Evans keeping that disc moving. Bit of a drop, went with one hand and did not get a firm grip on it. Melbourne are going to try to capitalise on this quickly.
And that could be critical, that one. Good field position. Right near the end of the games, those can be crucial.
Wise has kicked into action here. He's well known for, similar to the female players on the Melbourne team, the give and go. And he finishes off there with a streak into the end zone.
Great job by Wise there, just controlling the play in the backfield, waiting for the open look, hitting the line, and Georgia Egan-Griffiths doing a great job being able to hit that break around. And the Flames go up by a break.
Yeah, 25-year-old Lachlan Wise. You can really tell when a player decides to switch on in a game and take control. Sometimes you can feel, a player can feel their team flagging somewhat, and they know that, well, it's up to me. I've got to get this job done, and you could really see Wise doing that there. He took control and made that goal happen.
You can see the wind starting to pick up a little bit here, and the rain coming down a little bit stronger, maybe affecting that last drop on the Sydney team.
Yeah, it really is quite strong. The pool being whisked down into the ground very sort of just over halfway on the field, which is not a typical pool length at this level. Truett finds Wentworth with a big break, but
And there it is, another turn, looking for the inside shot.
Overall keeping the disc live. Here's Wise. Melbourne happy just to keep moving that disc, not look too much for the perfect option, just the first option, which seems to be working well for them now. Rugaki finds Wise. He throws a little one to Egan-Griffiths for the 12th goal for Melbourne.
That's game point now for Melbourne. They'll definitely be looking to punch this on the downwind point. Sydney really starting to feel the pressure.
Yeah, Melbourne do look like they've got control now. They look confident. They look like it's a bit of a walk in the park. It hasn't been, but they've got the body language and attitude to say that it is, and the Suns will be feeling that. And at 3 points down, they've got a bit of an upfield battle.
I think if any team in this league is going to be able to do that against the Flames, it's definitely the Sydney Suns. They have a very strong roster, and they're players who have been in all kinds of situations before, this kind of one included, and come out with the win.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the Sydney Suns play for this sort of game, this sort of moment, and a lot of them have had big comebacks before. So I'm sure if anyone can do it, you're right, it'll be the Sydney Suns.
nothing too different there from the Melbourne Flames generating those turns. Just sustained overall pressure, I think, in over both halves of this game, generating blocks at important times and being able to punch it in is just crucial.
Yeah, and the Suns' offense looking a little bit unfamiliar all of a sudden, forcing throws behind people a little. Let's hope they can make some better decisions now to keep this game going. Evans with a high release backhand, not finding his target.
Not the option you would have thought in that situation, and that's it.
Melbourne popping in their 13th goal, taking the win, not really having to do too much work in that final point, but they'll be stoked to have won the first game of the league with a comfortable margin, putting them really as top favourites for the whole league now, I'd say.
Yes, Melbourne putting the foot down in those last couple of points there, generating big pressure upfield and forcing throws that just weren't on there in those last couple of points. That's done enough.
Yeah, we'll be looking forward to more games from the Australian Ultimate League going into the next few days. You'll be able to see the Brisbane Breakers taking on the Adelaide Dragons, and it's all to play for. Will any of the other teams be able to match up to the smooth offense of Melbourne Flames? So that's a wrap for the first game of the Australian Ultimate League. Thanks for joining us. If you have not already signed up as a member of one of the teams, you can go online and pick your favourite team. And we look forward to bringing you the next game in the league, which is the Brisbane Breakers versus the Adelaide Dragons in a few days. Catch you later.
The Australian Ultimate League is only possible thanks to the generous support of our major partners. Bendigo Private Banking Services. Visit their website bendigoprivate.com.au to help you manage all your personal or business banking needs. Discraft. For leaders in flying discs for over 25 years. Their Ultrastar is the preferred disc of all World Championship events and the Australian Ultimate League. And Zone Ultimate Custom Sports Apparel. Check out their new range of custom warm-up jackets and pants at zoneultimate.com.